to all the guest owners, country, and all protesters. I was very touched with this statement and presentation by Dr. Kwaza and also Mr. Tai just now. I'm still fresh in livestock industry. Okay, about 3-4 years, but I've been traveling around the whole Malaysia to see how the progress of the livestock industry, and it's very challenging, and it's quite scary actually. It's quite scary sometimes when we're looking at some of the fact and data. And when I'm looking at what Dr. Kwaza and Mr. Tai presented just now, I think it's just hit all the points that is very critical. So today I'm going to touch about my experience and the real things that's happening on ground, what's really happened in the livestock industry. As I mentioned, I'm still amateur, but I'm willing to learn. I'm looking at how we can progress future and time. When we talk about livestock versus livestock, it's basically the issue of how the livestock can sustain without an adequate or sufficient feed meals or forage, to feed all these cattle, goats, and pigs. And the real situation, if you travel all around Malaysia, especially for the small-scale breeders, okay, they are struggling with a lot of things that is related to the cost price, or we call it an OPEX for it. So when we look into the abstract, when they are desperate towards a sufficient forage or feed meals and meals for their livestock, they tend to turn the whole resources to cheap things. What happens if they're starting to supply and using all the cheap things? Cheap food, less nutrition and things. It will affect the whole cycle of the livestock itself, basically. It looks simple, but it's very critical. After I go through 3 cycles of Hari Raya Kurbans and things, we see a lot of things that is happening. And it will affect as well, especially for the, what we call this as the downline products, basically. Okay, part 1. I'm going to just give you some introductions about what is ruminants and things. Okay, what is the nutrition requirements for the livestock? The importance of food for the livestock is because we need to ensure that the animal itself, either the cattle, the sheep, or the goat, receive sufficient nutrition to ensure they can grow healthy. Okay, in terms of its nutrition and how it's going to grow, the quality of the foods. It's basically will give that impact not just to the animal itself, but also to the end user as well. And feeding a cow, you are actually feeding billions of microbes. Okay, this is special about the ruminants because basically what they call as the 4 chambers of stomach. Okay, the 4 chambers of stomach. The ruminant animals is basically don't have the same stomach like what we do because they don't have enzymes, okay, to digest all their foods and things. But they do have microbes. So we need to feed the microbes in order to produce energy and nutrition for the cattle. And this is the diagrams that basically we call it as a ruminant digestive system. And they do have a bacteria, protozoals and fungi that basically will, churn out all the foods and translate it into a certain energies and also proteins to the body. And this is some of the ruminant microbes that I mentioned just now. The combinations of it will produce a sufficient energy and also protein to the ruminant or to the animals. And with a good ruminant input, is basically it will give an impact to the daily activities, the growth expansion, the dairy productions, and even like what Dr. Gaza said, we are short of breeding of cattle and things. We importing everything from Siam, Thailand, wherever, all all over already. Especially you can wait, just wait during the Hari Raya Haji or the Eid. You know, everybody starts importing all the animals from Thailand. Okay? So, the digestion of food, this is a forage, is basically they will produce CO2 and methane. This is what I've been seeing for the past few years when a few great countries, the industries, have produced and utilized the methane into electric resources. You know, India, as an example, there's a small hospital being powered by this methane gas, produced by the cattle. It's quite surprised. Indonesia already way advanced from us. But if you look at the diagram over there, F fermentation process and the energy and the protein will give a good performance, okay, and good output to the cattle itself. And problem from nutrition as it exists is basically when the amount of decrease of activity in the rumen, which is the pH below 5.4, which causes the destruction, decreased population of microbes. And this will cause the bloated, okay, kembung. Okay. Same thing happened to sheep and goat. Okay, when the nutrition is not sufficient, it's not adequate, the ratio is not correct, then we have that problem. Why we highlight this thing? Because most of our local farmers and breeders are still using the traditional method. I'm not saying it's wrong, but some of them believe the traditional method works for them. But we have to progress to make sure that the output is better. Part 2, the basic ingredients of livestock nutrition. This morning, the presentation has involved a lot of palm, and POB and things, And yes, we are lucky because our country produces such a lot of palm things that contributing towards the forage and the meals and the feed for all these livestock. But the percentage is quite low. It's not fully utilized. Okay? That is the saddest part. So this is the most common things that basically ruminant needs daily. Okay? We need Napier, we need PKM, we need corn. We mentioned just now what corn, molasses, and then the canted cake is basically being produced from the waste of palm oil. Basically, we call it tahi minyak. Okay, tahi minyak. For farmers and breeders, they know about this tahi minyak. It's quite cheap. So this is our carbohydrates and fat that produce a good energy to the cattle. And we need protein like Napier that we turn into silage, PKE, palm kernel expeller. We have soybean meal, again soya, soya just now we mentioned the production of soya in the world is quite critical as well, and fish meal, and we need mineral hill salt, vitamin, and water. But if you look all this combination, if we mix correctly in the ratio, it will give a good output, not just to the health of that animal itself, but also to the meat. I will show you some of the photos that we have been tested previously. Part 3, the challenge. If you're looking at one of the biggest challenge among the breeders of the farmers, the cost of the food for the livestock itself taken about 60-70%. It's huge. It's really huge. Most of the farmers that I have experienced and travel, it seems that they use the same food again and again because they want to control the cost, the OPEX. That is very critical. 2/3 of the small-scale domestic breeder depending for forage supply. They don't even have what they call padang ragut. They don't have Napier. They don't have green resources. They buy, and the price is not cheap. As an example, Napier per ton, if you've been processed about 450 ringgit per ton, how many days or weeks that you can stand with it? If you have 50 cattle, per cattle requires about 2 or 3 kilos per day. It's just easy like that, and 1/3 either have their own pasture and financially strong to buy quality products. Either one. Okay? So we're talking about the quality and the quantity as well. Why? Because this will affect the amount of meat that will be produced in the market. This is one of the articles that have been picked up. Basically, they are talking about most of the breeders are concerned about the height of the price. It's expensive, especially PKE, PKC, and things. Any product coming from palm oil, from the palm itself, is quite expensive. Because the price weekly is fluctuate. PKE, PKC, I think during the MCO, it reached about 1,100 per ton. Man, we have a breeder dead, man. We are dead. Seriously, we are dead. So we have to find alternative. How not to depend on a specific food. That is the biggest challenge. We try everything, name it. Napier, corn, waste cabbage, whatsoever, sugar cane, or even we collect, we go to each pasar malam and collect some of the corn, waste corns and things. We try, or even brew. Okay? This is the ruminant feeding, the ideal one. The combinations of these 6 elements, which carbohydrate, fat, proteins, mineral, vitamins, and water. This is the best, with a balanced ratio. Okay? But in reality, if you go to most of the small-scale farm, this is what you can see. They only give Napier, if they have Napier, but then decanted cake or tahi minyak, okay, and molasses. Okay, this is all about fat and energy. But if we talk about the tahi minyak itself or decanted cake, the effect is that you can see your cow or your cattle looks so fat and healthy. Okay, it looks glossy a bit. But if it's not having that tahi minyak or decanted cake, within 2 days, you can see the weight will going down rapidly. Okay, and water. Some of them, to make sure that the cattle are full, they're going to give and feed with water a lot. In Pantai Timur, they will make it to control, to minimize the usage of a commercial pellet, to make sure that the cattle are full enough. They're going to mix a pellet with a water and turn into a porridge. Some sort of like a porridge. Okay. This is some of the effect from decanted cake. This is during Eid. We heard a lot of cases like this, Yeah, they go to the farm and look at the farm. The whole cow and the cattle look so fat and things. But 2 days after they deploy and send it to the moors or to the other side and the places, within 2 days without the air minyak or the cattle, this is what you see. It's a skeleton. And we receive a lot of complaints, a lot. These people say, "Why my cow looks so skinny, like a walking skeleton," and things. We say that, okay, right? Disregard any breed of cattle. And this is one of the effects. If there's too much fat, there's too much energy, okay, been given to your livestock. Okay, can you see the color of the meat? It's very yellow. What is that? It's totally fat. So, if you want to process this meat, you need to do a lot of skimming. And if you want to sell this meat during Hari Raya Korban or Eid, it's not fair for the customer to get such a meat. It's only a fat. The cow and the cattle weight is full of fat, not with the actual meat. Okay? So if we're giving incorrect ratio of the food, this is what you get. The livestock weight is inconsistent, waist and down order, it's very smelly, inviting fly, full of fat, and the weight density also are very low. we receive this a lot during the Hari Raya Haji. Okay? Because some people say, I want a cheap cow, I want a cheap cattle. So this is what you get. But in reality, there's a lot of proxy people who, acting like they have a farm, but they don't. So they become a proxy and say, I have a cow and this, I show these pictures and this, come to my farm, but actually it's not their farm. But they don't know what kind of food they've been fed to them. Okay. But for the food ratio, or TMR, okay, this guy over here, holding the microphone, he just passed away a few months back. He's one of the most senior people in the livestock industry for 35 years. We met him a lot to discuss a lot of things together to get what is about TMR and things. A total mix ratio is a method of feeding cow that combines feed formulated to a specific nutrient content into a single feed mix. So this is some of the nutrients. If you look at all the orange colors, it's basically a kind of a pricey food that you can give to the cattle or cow. It's quite pricey, but sometimes we don't have a choice. But we cannot buy everything. So what we do is basically we mix it up with local product that we have. This is a ruminant for cattle and buffalo. This is ruminant goat and sheep. And what we do, after 3 years, we R&D by our own. Okay, we meet up with a lot of people from UPM, from individuals, from a big farm, small farm, everybody. So we found out this is the best formula at the moment because we still having a session a lot with a few formulators on the food in the market. Rice husk, fiber and carbo 50%, rice bran, energy 20%, PKE, bean mix, protein and fat 20%, supplement and vitamin and 10%, and 7 to 10% of livestock body weight. So this is what they need. Okay, if the cow or the cattle weight is about 200 kilograms, 7 to 10% is about 10 kilo, 20 plus minus. And after 2.5 years, we discovered that the formula works. Okay, the formula works, and we managed to increase the weight 0.8 kilogram to 1.2 kilogram, disregard any types of breeds so far. Okay, and this is some of the sampling that we did. We take 5 cows, 2 we give a solid decanted cake of tahi, minyak and things, and the other 3 we segregate it and give the right formula. So sampling 1, we get less fat, less down order, antibody increase, weight gain with optimum body score. And then for sampling number 2, with fat, less proteins and energy and commercial pellet a bit, excessive fat, down order and flies, antibody decrease, weight gain with fat. Okay. And this is the sample. You can see that sample number 1, you can see all the mix. It's a bit white. The fat is not that obvious. And sampling number 2, you can see the fat. It's very yellow and it's very thick. It's very, very thick. You need to skim it again and again and again, before you can take the actual meat. Okay? And the cost feed previously was about 6 to 7 ringgit per day. Okay, just multiply by 30 days, 7 ringgit, 210 ringgit for 1 cow. If you have 50, you have 100, you're dead. That one is not include the labor cost and whatever things, just for the cow itself. And we managed to go almost half of it. Thanks God, almost half. But again, now the price is going up, especially the food price. And after 2.5 years, we start to, trying to do some R&D, research and things, meet up with a lot of people. And finally we say, okay, it's time for sharing. So we call up with a few small scale breeders and farmers, come to our farm, let's share what is the formula. Because I think this is the best, how you're going to progress towards the food security in the future. We're not selling a fat, but we're selling the real meat. Okay, we give a right protein to them. Okay, not fat. Okay, so perhaps in the future we're gonna do more R&D, even though internally we try to do that again and again, and we're gonna do the same sharing session by call up more breeders and farmers and try to educate what is the best. Okay, and at the moment we have a lot of discussion with a few food formulators. This guy from BASF for 30 years, this guy from FGV, he used to be a CEO for FGV. We discuss a lot, you know, trying to get the right input and information and how we're gonna help other breeders and farmers before we can talk to a bigger scale of the livestock. So, excuse me, there's a video there. Can you play? Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a PDF or what?
Yeah, that's a video.
Yeah, there's a PowerPoint there. See? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you play the video in the PowerPoint? No. No, cannot. It's on PowerPoint. No. Yeah.